Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Lisa Kello, and as you can see in the title in this video, I'll be talking about 10 things that I have learned from toxic relationships. I will say it took a lot for me to make a video like this, and I never thought that I'll ever be making a video like this if I'm being sincerely honest, but here I am, I know that a lot of people have been and are in and will be in toxic relationships at some point in their life. Not that I wish it on anyone, but I believe that God allows us to go through things in our lives. Not that we can stand on our own feet and be like, yes, I overcame this, but God blesses us to be a blessing. And I'm hoping that this video can bless someone today. But without further ado, guys, let's get to it. So guys, I have been in 2 toxic relationships myself, and I'm talking about this in terms of my love life. And since I started doing dilemma videos, I've been speaking to quite a couple of people that are or have been in toxic relationships, and that's what encouraged me to want to make a video like this. To start off with, I will be using my phone just to define relationships, because sometimes people can't differentiate between a toxic and abusive and just a bad relationship. So I'm just going to be defining that. So a toxic relationship. Toxic relationships are characterized by a continuous worsening or prolonged lack of trust, unresolved conflict, controlling behaviors, and frequent lying. Usually one person tends to carry the relationship and is always compromising. That is a toxic relationship. If you can relate to this definition, guys, you are 9 times out of 10 in a toxic relationship. An abusive relationship is characterized by causing harm that is emotional, financial, physical, or mental harm to another person, consciously or unconsciously, because they believe they have the right to control and restrict their partner's lives. That is an abusive relationship. Guys, if you can relate to this, and if you know that this is happening in your relationship, you are in an abusive relationship. You gotta go. And a bad relationship, which is just like, this is just deal with it. You just resolve this. It's just basically unresolved minor problems here and there that occasionally built up and may seem impossible in the time, but if you both made the effort, would make the relationship work and would help the relationship. So those are the 3 definitions, guys, just to start it off with before I get into the 10 things that I personally have learned. So the first thing that I have learned is that how someone treats you is a reflection of how they see you, but what you accept is a reflection of how you see yourself. If someone is constantly disrespecting you, if someone is constantly talking down on you, if someone is constantly calling you names, if someone does not appreciate you, that is their problem. If you take it, you are sending them a message, and that is psychologically something that you may not be aware of, that you may be someone that is okay and you don't think that you're worthy of being respected. You have insecurities within yourself. That means that if someone treats you crap, that is okay, and you need to work on that within yourself. You are not worthy to be treated badly, to be talked down on. You're not worthy to be controlled or to be called names. Like, you have to come to a place where you are content in yourself, that you cannot stand for things like that. So if you are taking certain stupid behaviors, guys, 9 times out of 10 you need to do a self-evaluation, because you might be making the other person's problem your problem. So the second thing that I learned is the power of accountability. And when I say accountability, I don't mean your salty, hurt, broken friends that be trying to give you advice from a broken place, because broken people break people, sad people make people sad, and hurt people hurt people. That is something that I believe. So if you're going to have accountability, it's basically someone that you have a good relationship with, someone that has your best interest at heart. Some people can be a family member or a best friend, because when you're in a toxic relationship, sometimes you don't really see it unless the person someone else is looking at it. I don't know what happens. It's like being in a relationship just puts you in a box. It's like you're in this little square box, and it's like the only person that can see the full box is someone who's looking at it from the outside. That's the power of accountability. And sometimes the person sees it, but they're just ashamed, or they're just really scared of being alone, scared that there may not be someone better out there for you, or sometimes just scared of what people will say or think when they actually know what's happening in your relationship. Because some of us can hype relationships to be a lot more than they actually are, and that fear of like, what will people say if they really know what's happening, can actually keep someone in a toxic relationship. And if you've got people around you and you're like, I have so many people around me, I don't trust nobody and all that kind of shenanigans, I would say get a church and find a pastor or a mentor in church. Those are the best people, because they will always have your best interest at heart. And if you don't and you feel like you can't do that, honestly, pray about it. Give it to God, because like the things that God would show you when you ask him to show you things about your relationship and the person that you really are, God can't change the other person, but he can open your eyes to see things that you're not seeing. Because it's like sometimes when they say love is blind, it's like relationships blind is from seeing common sense. You know what I mean? Like when you come out of the relationship and you're looking back, sometimes you're like, mate, the things I tolerated in that, like, you know what I mean? But anyways, guys, so the third thing that I learned, what the other person thinks, feels, or how the other person treats you is a problem with them and not you. Someone else's insecurities is not your problem, even if they impose it on you. Someone else's false perception of who you are is not your problem, bro. It's theirs. So never make it your problem, and don't carry a burden that is not yours to carry. If the person that you're with is like, they think you're cheating, lying, and doing all that thing, that is not your problem, mate. You don't have to now go out of your character and out of your way to secure someone who is so insecure in themselves that they don't even trust you. That is not your problem. That is their problem. Make it their problem, and you do you. If the person can't and has these fixed perceptions of you, guys, it's gonna get toxic. Go. Anyway, so guys, so the fourth thing is to never have high expectations, and always remember that not everyone is you. And I'm going to elaborate on that. I mean, you should have expectations and realistic expectations, but don't have the highest level expectations, because you know the type of person that you are. I had a problem with holding people to a standard that I would have towards them. The things that I'd be willing to do for people, I would expect them to do it for me, mate. If I'm willing to go 1,000 for you, why can't you just go 100 for me, bro? You know what I mean? I used to hope that people would be willing to go as much and give as much as I would be willing to give, and that creates a problem in a relationship, because then you're just trying to like force this person to be like you, and just realize that not everyone is you. And sometimes you may expect a lot from that person, but just realize that they are a human being. And sometimes we tend to expect things that only we can do, like getting to a relationship and expecting another person to make you happy. Hell no. Like, if you ain't happy by yourself, you won't be happy with that person. That person is not going to bring happiness into your life. That's too big of a burden to expect from someone else. And that's what I mean by having these high unrealistic expectations. He's going to have loads of money to look after me. She's going to have loads of money to look after me. Yet you can't even look after yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't have these high expectations, you know? But anyways, guys, the fifth thing that I learned is the cuss word code: forgiveness. Yo, I learned that one deep. Oh my gosh. Forgiveness, and when you have truly forgiven someone, is when you remember the things of the past, the things that have happened in the relationship, whether or not you're in the relationship or you're out of the relationship, and they don't make you salty, they don't make you bitter, they don't make you angry or wish that the person got hit by a bus or something. If you are out of that toxic relationship, amen, we thank God, but you would have to get out of the idea that the past would have been any different, that there would have been anything you or the other person would have done to change the past. The mindset of this should have, this could have, this would have, this will never. You have to forget that, because if it could have, if it would have, if it should have, it will have happened. Remembering the hurt, replaying the past only keeps you in a loop. And the annoying thing is that time is gonna keep going and going, and you are stuck in 8th of August 1990 when this person did this to me. It is honestly not worth it. And the annoying thing will be that a lot of the time the person don't even think about you like that. The person don't even care. They've moved on. One quote that I really love, I'm just gonna read it. It says, "Worry does not take away today or yesterday's problems. The only thing it does is it takes away today's peace." Guys, peace is the one thing that you need. And peace is more important than what that person did to you or the hurt of the past. And I know it's definitely easier said than done, because I have been there for the longest time. And forgiveness, 9 times out of 10, as much as it feels like it's hurting the other person, it hurts you more than it hurts the other person. My friend said something really powerful. She said, for unforgiveness is like poison. It just hurts the container that carries it. It's really not worth it. And sometimes you can feel justified by holding a grudge. But honestly, letting go of the person and forgiving the person, it frees you so much, to the point that you take away the power that that person can have from in your present and in your future. That when you see that person, it's not like you'll be boiling point. Like all they have to do is just show you a picture of you and that person, or show a picture of that person, and your blood is shooting up. That is power that you're giving a person, and you don't even realize. And it gets to a point where even when you go into the next relationship, you go with the biggest guard. Ain't nobody gonna hurt me like that. Ain't nobody gonna do it. Like, that power is a power that your previous partner does not deserve. It's gonna affect how you love people in the future. They ain't worth it. They ain't worth it at all. Anyways, guys, with that being said, I've been through a journey, guys. A very long journey. For me to making this video has been a journey. Anyways, guys, the 6th thing that I learned, and especially this is for people if you're still in the toxic relationship, just ask yourself, do you truly love the person? Look at this person for the good, the bad, the flaws, the frustrating, the irritating, the everything. Look at this person and think to yourself, do you love this person? Can you deal with everything? Or are you just in love? Or I don't even think it's love. Or do you just like the idea of this person? Because the one thing I've learned is sometimes people pretend to be someone that they're not, especially at the beginning, the honeymoon phase, the beginning when they're trying to impress you, innit? They pretend to be someone that they're not just to get with you. Or they will just show you a version of themselves, which is them like 10% of the time. The rest of the 90%, you get to know that as we go along the relationship. And then when you start a real relationship with a person, you start to see them for who they really are, and it's not even half the person that you met. But what that can do to you is you can sometimes hold on to the person that you actually met, or even more dangerously, hold on to the idea of the person that you want, hoping that this person will change. Honestly, if there's one thing that I have learned is you can never change someone. Love them for who they are, and if not, they're just not the one for you. Because when someone shows you who they really are, take them, because the honeymoon phase is over. This is who they really are. And if you look at the person for who they really are and you feel like you want to change a whole lot about that person, like a significant list about that person, 9 times out of 10, that's a sign that that is just not the person for you. On to the next, mate. A friend told me this really powerful quote that I've always kept with. She said, character is like pregnancy. Like, you can hide a pregnancy at the beginning, but with time, by the time you get to 9 months, mate, you can't hide a pregnancy at 9 months, mate. Like, honestly, and that's the one thing that happens with relationships, is that once you start a relationship, you don't really see the character and you start to build that character. But the one thing I'd always say is pray about it because God will show you things at the time before you invest into something, and now it's too late and you're like, oh my gosh, my feelings are involved. And just making sure that praying to God and asking God to reveal these things to you is just the most amazing way, because God, I've never made that prayer and God's never answered it, to be honest. But anyways, guys, going on to the 7th thing, never make someone change you because of their judgment of you. And I don't mean like the clearly negative things about you, like, oh, you can be harsh sometimes, you can be selfish sometimes. I don't mean the correction out of love. I mean the, I hate how you dress. I hate that you don't wear makeup. You're too skinny for me. You're too shy. You need to be out there a bit more. It's things like that that make your character and make you as a person. And even worse, when they compare you to another person of the same sex, and you should be more like them. You should dress more like them. You should do this more like them. It's really not worth it at all, guys. That is a sign that you're probably not the one for them. And before you know it, you'll start to notice this controlling and manipulative behavior. And honestly, it's not worth it, because it would build a lot of insecurities that you would hate yourself for being how unique and who you are, that someone else would look at you and say, you are perfect for me. The eighth thing, guys, is we're almost there, guys. The eighth thing is, don't waste your energy fighting for someone who is okay with losing you. In toxic relationships, 9 times out of 10, one person is carrying the weight of the entire relationship. And that is the most draining waste of energy, because you will eventually run out and give up. If you are constantly the one resolving conflict, constantly trying to make amends or do things to try and keep the relationship going, and you can see that this person is clearly okay with losing you, just know that someone else will be willing to meet you halfway, and it's not worth it at all. The 9th thing is a quote that I saw on Instagram, and I know this normally addresses this quote particularly addresses the male, but it can go either way, innit? This was one of the first eye openers, and honestly made me realize, girl, it's time to go. Men are not complicated. He's not investing in you because you're not worth it to him. He's not chasing you because he doesn't want you. He's still entertaining you because you let him. He's not giving you what you want because he's not afraid to lose you. Stop making excuses. And how does this relate to toxic relationships? So the person will entertain a relationship with you, usually just for sex, for money, for social gain, and or in extreme situations like mine, because you keep trying to stay in the person's life and they don't really care about you, they don't care about losing you, and in a lot of circumstances they'll even tell you and be open about it. And they tend to treat you like they're doing you a favor by being with you. Like, you start to feel like an inconvenience being in the relationship with the person. They don't put in the effort, and before you know it, you start to see the manipulative behavior of blaming, and in extreme situations and circumstances they tell you, why don't you just let me go, why don't you just leave me alone, like, you know what I mean, like, you're the one that wants to be with me, I don't want to be with you, and you keep trying to stay there. Guys, it's really not worth it. Finally, guys, the 10th thing, and if there is anything that you take from this video, I would love you to take the 10th point, which is that nothing is impossible for God. Coming out of a toxic, and sometimes even being in a toxic relationship, can leave you wounded, isolated, frustrated, every other negative hated word that exists. There is a lot of healing that has to take place, and I believe that the best way to get true healing is through Christ, especially forgiving and letting go of the other person. I don't mean letting go as in any of the relationship, I mean emotionally, mentally, that they don't affect your future, because you can let go of someone physically, but in your head they're still there. Emotionally, you still have that anger towards that person, and the only way that you can let go of that is through Christ and counseling. And counseling, of course. There is nothing that is too big or too small for God. You can put the hurt, the pain, the complexes that people walk out with, the insecurities, the bitterness, the frustration, the thoughts of the person, you can put them in God's hands, and God can help you through every season, including coming out and being in a toxic relationship. Guys, I hope you found this video very, very useful. This video definitely does touch home for me, and I just thought to bless someone with it. If you've been through it and you're struggling, guys, please hit me up on my Instagram. You can email me or put in the comments what you guys think about this video if you want to share it with people, and I will see you guys in my next video.